Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm super excited to be joined here today with a very, very special guest, Norman Kinsey. He is the founder of Liftoff Agent, a real estate technology platform helping real estate agents better build better systems and also help them passive prospect so that way they can be very deliberate with their business and actually work with the clients that they want to work with. So Norman, you had me on your show not too long ago on your podcast, the Real Estate versus Tech show. So I'm really excited here to be returning the favor and having you on my show. So without further ado, I want to welcome you to the show.
Dude, let's go, bro. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the intro. And it's nice when it's symbiotic. It's like, hey, come on, let's have some fun, let's vibe out. It's all about giving back and serving our industry. And then we did that live, which was a lot of fun as well. And I think we scheduled this last year. So I was just like, yes, I'd be honored because it was a goal. I think anyone who's listening, like, set goals, because I swear to you, if you set goals, you write them down, you have a vision board, and you just keep focusing on what you want, you'll get it. And that's exactly how I'm here today, because I wanted to be on more podcasts. And then it happened.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm really excited to have you on because you're doing so much in the real estate space and you're providing a lot of value to all types of entrepreneurs and real estate agents in the in the industry, right? And
Mhm.
it's a lot of fun for me to be on your show and to be interviewed by you multiple times. So I'm really excited to have you here today and really kind of dig into your story. So before we get started into that and talking about how you're helping agents and all the things that you know about the industry and that you've learned and
Yeah.
from your interviews. I'd love to get deeper into your story and just, how you decided to kind of get into the real estate industry. What was it that prompted you to, found this company and, do what you're doing now? So if you don't mind, would you mind sharing that a little bit with us?
Let's go. I'd be more than happy. I really do appreciate that. And I feel like I'll get into the story. I'll keep it short, sweet, to the point. I feel like the biggest thing is I want to make sure whoever's viewing and listening, I want to set this intention. It's for them to relate to this. And I'm gonna give some stories, and I'm gonna give some things for people to think about, that hopefully that they can also be like, whoa, like, okay, is this you? And if it is you, you're hearing this for a reason. I don't know. I don't know, Kobe. I feel like everything happens for a reason, man. I don't feel like there's coincidences, because it just makes life for me more simple. I'm just like, all right, this happened for a reason. Why did it happen? Oh, I need to learn this lesson. Fantastic. And so we'll start off where this all began. And I think the biggest thing is, and I'll start off with saying I've done a lot of different jobs. And I've from like working at a monument car parts store, to a grocery store, to selling shoes at a mall at Champ Sports, to a bunch of different things. And going through the different things that I've done, the last thing I was doing, I think it was selling cars before I got out of the workforce, as far as like a 9 to 5 or working for someone else. It was like not feeling like an asset, like not feeling that like I had the ability, and like, I don't know, maybe it was my approach, who knows, but I would always like go beyond and above for different jobs that I had. So if anyone who's listening and watching, it can relate to that, right? Going beyond and above, you want to be seen, right? We all want to be heard. We want our opinions to matter. And I just felt like working 9 to 5s, like that just didn't happen. Like your opinion didn't matter. It was just like, do your job, stop asking questions. It doesn't matter about how the systems or the processes work of the business, or who the executives are. Like, you get here, we'll say Costco. Here's a good story. I used to work at Costco, and I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would start work at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so Costco in the mornings, what they would do is they would have like forklift drivers, and they would have stockers to stock the shelves right before opening time for the guests to come in. And Costco is crazy. People buy a ton of stuff. It's wholesale. So my friend and I would be in competition, like, oh, I'm going to load this pallet quicker than you. We're in competition, going back and forth. His name's Kai. Really cool dude. Now he has his own business, and he's doing like skyrise, like building door frames, and he's crushing it and doing an amazing job in San Francisco, California. And I ended up broke like a sprinkler valve or something like that in the trash compactor. And so I got called in, and I was, there on time and did my job, and always went the extra mile. And maybe I wasn't, I don't know, maybe I was a bull in a china cabinet sometimes, but I was a seasonal guy. And they basically said, sorry, Norm, like, unfortunately, this isn't going to work out. And they let me go. It is what it is. But I deliberately remember being there on time, going the extra mile, and asking questions. And a lot of people just that were there had no idea. I also remember going and joining the union. And I was gonna basically work at like one of those, use your language, shit factories. And like I was digging in a trench, and it was my first day, and I was with some guy who was like you just couldn't have an intellectual conversation with. And you look up top, and the guy's like staring down at you, the foreman, and I'm just digging this hole. And like I'm just like, I quit like on the spot. I started, my aunt got me the job, and I paid all the dues to be part of a union. And I was like, yes, let's go. And I was like, this is not for me. So with all that being said, so people can relate, if you're not feeling an asset, or you're just feeling underappreciated, or you just don't ask questions, do your job, you might have a calling to do your own thing. And that's what I did. And so I basically was working as a car salesperson, and it was going to be a holiday weekend. We'll say President's Day weekend. I had 3 appointments, which would be 3 car sales, which is called a hat trip. And the general manager always had it out to get to me. And this is the last job I had before I quit full time and said, I'm done. I'm going to do my own thing. And I'm at this job, and the general manager brings me in, and he just has an attitude. And I don't remember exactly what was going on. And I'm going to say it again, excuse my language. I told him to fuck himself. And he said, what? I said, yeah, fuck yourself. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. And I was one of the top sellers. I had 3 car sales that day. I didn't want to take anything from anyone. Just want to do my job. I didn't appreciate his tonality with me. Like, I believe everyone should have the same respect, right? You don't disrespect, and everyone's the same. And so he said, all right, go home. Never looked back, quit my job, said, forget this. So from car sales to nightclub security to personal assistance to driving people to the airport to scrubbing toilets to like doing all these odd and end jobs, thinking I could work with anyone and everyone, to stumbling upon J Rockcliff Real Estate, J Rockcliff Realtors. It's basically in the Bay Area of California. And it was a boutique brokerage, 350 agents. I called like 330 and just asked questions and said, hey, what are you going through? What's coming up for you? I wanted something, maybe I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I wanted to be more focused. So anyone listening out there, being focused is I think a good narrative to what we're going to talk about today. Because the more you're focused, the more deliberate you are with a target, the more you'll have success with that. Hence Liftoff Agent and where we're at today. And so I stumbled upon the brokerage, called 350 agents, and found out a couple things. Agents want to be different from their colleagues. They want tools from broker to broker, and they want the same support as a top performing real estate professional. Found out that 90% of the business is done by the top 10% of real estate professionals, and a lot of them throw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And so I was like, And during this time, as I'm nightclub security, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I haven't really said this much, but I'm selling weed, nightclub security, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, doing my thing. I'm doing parties and promotion. I'm getting party buses. I'm filling them up and going to these nightclubs and getting bottle service and whatever I could. I'm picking up trash and taking it to the dumps and recycling computer parts. It was crazy, the stuff that I was doing, but it was fun and it was exciting and it was different. I was in my 20s and I had no idea what I was doing. And then fast forward, met my business partner off Craigslist. We're working on a project. The ambassador of Libyan was coming out to San Francisco, California, where I was born and raised. They needed to have like a pamphlet for the night, and like has all the information about what's going on and what have you. And I literally found Craigslist, found a partner on Craigslist, Smith. There was like 4 different people. Smith was the cheapest, best work. And so I said, I have this project. Then I said, hey, I found J Rockcliff Realtors. Hey, can you send out 15 emails a day? I'm going to call 1 a day or 15 a day. And I called 15 a day. And then we started crafting up. He had his own design marketing firm. And then for me, I was just like a hustler and I knew social media. And I was like, maybe I'll just do social media marketing and setup and that type of stuff. And long story short, we ended up saying, all right, like, let's figure this out. And then he did websites. So he said websites could help our service be more sticky because you pay that monthly. We wanted a monthly subscription. Then we're updating social. And then we kept on learning, 6,000 plus agents later. We're like, there needs to be SOPs and KPIs, like standard operating procedures and key performance indicators. And there needs to be a roadmap from like starting up, ramping up, and scaling up. And any small business needs a logo, needs a website, needs to be focused with that website with potentially lead pages. Social media needs to be consistent with that website and your logo and branding. And YouTube, which is huge, I feel like is a good key performance indication or indicator to like have passive prospecting, film things that are associated with your business and or things that are associated with what someone is searching to bring in additional business and cash flow. So Fast forward now, 10 years in this industry, I've met 10,000 plus agents, probably served about 5,000 agents, just shy of 200 agents in 17 states now. And our team now is, I want to say 10 full-time on staff, and we're growing really rapidly, have some amazing referral partners out there as well. Smith's still my partner to this day. And that's kind of the long, short answer to how we're here today.
That's awesome, man. I love your story. I think, it's so, I guess, like on brand with kind of what you're doing now and who you are as an individual, right? And I think it's a very good testament to kind of what you guys are doing for agents, which you
Yeah.
mentioned is focusing on what your brand is. So I love to, maybe get your take on this. That's the first thing we want to talk about is, branding for agents, right? Because there's a lot of agents who are maybe pretty experienced in the industry. Maybe they just got their real estate license, and I get a lot of questions as far as, well, what do I do, right? How do I get to that next level?
Yeah.
And, you kind of look at their business and it's kind of all over the place, right? They're getting,
Yes.
referrals, they have Sphere, but they don't really have a website, not too much of a presence, and stuff is, kind of misaligned, right, with their different social medias. So, maybe something that you can talk about is the branding aspect of it, and what should an agent be thinking about as far as being able to create a cohesive brand, so that way they're able to really turn themselves from, an individual into like a
Yep.
really marketable business.
I love that. I love that. All right. All right. All right. I got it. So check this out. There's two forms, right? You have online and offline activities. Your offline activities is exactly what a lot of agents are already doing out there. If you agree, if you resonate with this, give us some love. Give this podcast some love. Give Kobe some love. Like, subscribe. We want to hear from you. So the offline activities is like you're picking up the phone, you're making a text message, you're going to networking events. My wife, she goes to the BNI business institution networking, whatever. I'm not even pretend like I know what that stands for, but she does that, right? And so when you're offline, you kind of don't think about a logo or a website or social media as much, right? Unless it's a habit. If it's not a habit and a behavior, and you're not like filming what you're doing throughout your offline activity day and like putting that into stories or being mindful of that, then you totally forget about it. And so I feel like this is where the rubber meets the road. Whoever's watching, listening right now, like take note on this. The reason why technology was formed in the first place is to help us as human beings save ourselves time, be more organized, and be able to leverage the technology to leverage less of our brain power. Because we only have 24 hours, we only have so much bandwidth. And if you're someone like Kobe and myself, and I'm sure, Kobe, you can relate to this, at the end of my day, and anyone who's out there can relate to this, my brain is like mashed potatoes. If I'm not ending my day with my brain being like, I can't think anymore, like I need to go to sleep. Like that's how I end my day. I never end my day bored or just watching movies or can't sleep and being restless. Like soon as my head hits the pillow, I'm out. I'm done. And so when you think about your offline activities and you marry that with your online activities, the online activities is what's going to help you think about your standard operating procedures, your key performance indicators, and for you to be able to say, okay, so when I'm offline and I'm doing what I'm doing, whether it's networking, meeting someone, or whatever the case may be, how does that then, for my online activities, help that offline activities? Well, maybe if you have a smartphone, which I think we all do, right? You potentially could do a couple things. You have like the wristbands, you have like the pop-it or the QR codes you could put on your phone. Even just with iPhones, if you put two iPhones together, you could transfer your V card, right? So think about this. Think about having website, or think about having a landing page on your website, and think about having a QR code on your, say, phone. So when you're going to the networking events, they scan it. As soon as they scan it, then it goes to a page, which we have and which I've done. During you go to that page, what happens? You plant a Facebook pixel for retargeting, right? That's leveraging technology to be able to retarget someone that you just met, right? Because you get busy, you can't remember everything, right? That's why I use technology. You have a video introducing yourself, right? You have a bio describing yourself, right? And then you have everything that they need, whether it's a phone number, an email, or hey, connect with me on social media. And you can deliberately drive them through that process, right? Because guess what people are always doing? They're on their phone, they're checking out what's going on, they're looking at social media or whatever the case may be. So it's like, well, hello, if you could potentially have it so that way you utilize the offline networking, making phone calls, networking, going to open house events or what have you, have the QR code for the online activities, then you're completing the circle. Now, this is crazy. So for me, I'll give you an example. Now, I'm considered Mr. Liftoff. I just rebranded myself last year. I tatted it on my arm, and I'm literally doing what I'm doing throughout my day. I'll give you a quick story. My father-in-law, which is my wife's father, is dating Monica. Now, Monica, we didn't really connect on social media. We connected offline. Well, now we're connected online. And so now she's seeing a whole different persona and a different reality that I live. I live two realities. I live online and offline. And there's some crossover if you watch my stories on my Instagram account. And so last I met her 2 days ago, she's like, all right, Mr. Liftoff, and see you later or whatever else. And then I go this weekend. I went to Whiskey Row, and I'm part of a GTR forum. So my buddy and I, we took the GTR out to Whiskey Row, GTR forum. Someone said, "Hey, you want to take a drive?" I said, "Hey, come on over, come hang out." And so he comes meet up with us. I met this guy. His name's Sun. He has a GTR and he has a Lamborghini Huracan. So the Huracan's in the shop, so he didn't bring that. Brought the GTR. We meet up together. First thing he says, "Oh, what's up, Mister Liftoff?" Right? So it's the offline activities and the online activities, right? So the online activities, I'm this Mr. Liftoff persona. I'm putting out my stories. I'm staying consistent with my focus, marketing to real estate professionals. So my activity feed is all agents, right? My stories are all uplifting, motivational, servant, supporting, right? Whether podcast, education, Liftoff, Brax Hacks, let's go. Mr. Liftoff, mindset, health, wellness, being well-rounded, right? I'm coming up with this whole entire ecosystem. So when you're part of this ecosystem, it's to uplift, it's to inspire, it's to serve, right? And so he said that, never seen him before. I met him one other time before, but the second time ever, like intimately, or first time intimately, like just going out. And then him saying, "Oh, what's up, Mr. Liftoff?" So whoever's listening and viewing, you got to think about, and we can go into more specifics, but just the basics, online and offline. How are they married together? How focused are you where your offline meets your online? And then when you have a brand, and then people will relate to you with that brand, or you put out the content enough where there's that habit, that behavior, they don't look at me, and I'll go to networking events or whatever else, and they'll be like, "Oh, what's your name?" Like, I just know you as Liftoff. That's hence why I rebranded to Mr. Liftoff, because people only know me as Liftoff. I'm not Liftoff. My name's Norman Kinsey, but you know what I'm saying? It's crazy how branding could get to a point where it's like, I thought you were just Liftoff. Hope
Yeah.
that answers
No,
your question.
no, that absolutely did, because it's something that I think people need to start thinking about is now, what is the persona that you're trying to, give out to the world, right? Because I think a lot of agents, they have social media, and they may or may not use it, but I
Yeah.
think, as a business owner, you need to treat your social media as a business tool and not so much as what other people treat it as, which is just, maybe you'll put something out there, maybe you won't, and then you kind of consume. But this is it's a marketing platform now, right? So you have to really be very clear on who you are, and that I think
Yes.
comes from who you're trying to market to, right? Which is your
Yes.
avatar, which is something that you're very you know a lot about as well.
Yeah, and this is the thing I want to just kind of also add to is that, like Grant Cardone said, either you're using social media or you're being used by it. And I think anyone who's out there who's listening and viewing and saying, "I need to get off social media because I was getting too caught up in the scroll, or I was just getting sidetracked, or whatever the case may be," is because you're not deliberate, you're not focused, and you don't understand how to use social media as a tool. And literally, I just filmed 4 videos yesterday, and one of the 4 videos for our YouTube channel for Liftoff Agent talks specifically about being more focused when it comes to how do you hack Instagram so your feed when you're scrolling is all ideal buyers and or sellers or people potentially you could be working with, right? So I think people need to think about that, because it's an algorithm, and the more focused you are within the algorithm, the more the algorithm will work in your favor. And the more that you just are kind of like, la, 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 like, yeah, I'm going to make some calls, but I don't want to do them right now. So I'm going to go on my social media and I'm going to see what's going on. Oh my God, Sandy just had a baby. And you just get caught. Like one of my team members, shout out Bernadette. She's awesome. Head of our social department. And she called it the doom scroll. So on Monday, we have money motivation, and we were talking about various things as far as self-evaluation, what have you. And last Monday, she's like, "It's the doom scroll. I had to get off of Facebook because of this, this, and this." I'm like, "Girlfriend, you got to be deliberate. Why are you on this?" Right? If you want to lose weight, you want a positive mindset, you want to travel the world, all of that stuff could be served to you on a silver platter if you just maximize the algorithm.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk maybe a little bit about the focus, right? As a real estate agent, who should they be focusing on as far as their targeting with their, their content, and also their targeting as far as, who they should become as far as the persona on social media, right?
Love it.
Because I think a lot of agents out there, they're, like you're saying, like they're not focused. They're looking for buyers and sellers in any way capacity. They'll take any client on. And I'm sure you have, your own opinion about this. And I think we agree is that that's not something that you should be doing, right? So as an agent, right, what should they be doing to create their perfect avatar as far as their perfect client? And I guess like how should they go about it? And how strict should they be following that, that avatar when they are doing their marketing and maybe even saying no to certain people who might want to work with them, but just
I love that.
isn't their
I
type of
love that.
client.
Okay. I'm going to say something that might offend some people, but I just want to be brutally honest. And the cliche term that a lot of coaches and a lot of gurus say, start with your sphere of influence, excuse my language, is bullshit. And this is why. Okay. When you start with your sphere of influence, because this is what happens. When agents say, oh, I work with anyone and everyone who just wants to work with me, and then they have a chip on their shoulder, right? Oh, I was just working with my mom's best friend. Yeah, and I also just work with my dad's best friend. And then I also work with my sister's brother's uncle's baby mama. Like, and then they have all these people they work with that it's their sphere of influence. But what happens is people get comfortable with their sphere of influence. Okay. Now I'm gonna just share a quick story. I love you, Twinner. I'm just want to put this out there if she's watching. My wife is a twin. Okay. Michelle Lewis, she's with Coldwell Banker out of Black Hawk, California. And a lot of her business was served on a silver platter because it was a lot of sphere of influence and circumstances of life, right? There was a lot of movement happening, whether it was my father-in-law selling a house, my brother-in-law selling his house, and then buying another house, and then my mother-in-law, and then the family's big. So she was rocking and rolling. Guess what happened 2023, which a lot of agents probably felt? Downward of the market, right? A lot of agents getting out of the business, a lot of pressure, right? So if you didn't have systems and processes and a focus on an ideal avatar, whoo, you're really feeling it. And she did. She went down drastically, and she literally was going, and she was on our scale up program and had to go down to our startup plan because she needed to catch wind again because she was doing the YouTube thing and starting to get more focused on her avatar and doing area specific content and starting to catch momentum. But the sphere of influence momentum dried up, so she couldn't keep reinvesting into her business to be able to start to play off of and be able to earn off of potential ideal perspectives in the area that she wants to serve. So this is where I think the rubber meets the road, where I think the biggest thing agents can do, this is where you take notes right now and really do some self-evaluation, is think about yourself and who you are, look at your content and what you're putting out there, and ask yourself this question: would you want to work with yourself? Whether it's a video you put out, the social media you posted, right? Look in the mirror and ask yourself if you want to work with yourself, right? Because I think a lot of agents don't understand this. It's when things happen to them and they're like, man, I keep on dealing with these clients that are just nightmares. And it's just over and over and over again. And it's just like, they're not focused. They're all over the place. These clients are just nightmares. I don't know why they keep coming up for me. Hello? Because like attracts like. You're only attracting the same subject matter of who you are. You're just attracting your you could say like your same avatar of who you are. And it's almost like the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, slapping you upside the face saying like, hello, wake up. Because if you're more deliberate and you're more focused, then you're going to get more focused and deliberate clients. And so after you do some of that self-evaluation, ask yourself that question, then go deeper into the subject of like, hey, do you want to be a community expert? Right? Do you want to be a mayor of your town? So do you want to talk about all the things there are to do in Blake, say, community? So that when it comes to parks and schools and restaurants and, who's the mayor to like the best places to go get a massage, like, okay, cool. Like, so then be that person. And then when you go to dinner or you go do what you do just in general, I literally just did a YouTube video on this, like review those businesses on Google My Business and make sure Google My Business is set up so people can find you and you can find them because you're talking about things to do in the community. Or go follow those business owners in your local community and then follow their followers that are community members that love the same food that you like, because now you potentially could work with clients that like the same food that you like or like to go to the same gyms that you like to go to, right? So you can be this area expert, community expert. Mr. Levi Lassick, he's on our YouTube channel here. He has living in Dallas, Texas, right? Did over $100 million in business last year just from passively prospecting, utilizing YouTube, talking about all things moving to Dallas, Texas. New construction, areas that are up and coming, just focusing on that. Now, on the flip side, you can also go deeper on first-time home buyers. You can go deeper on first-time home seller slash buyer. So like someone who's looking to upgrade to a bigger home. And if you want to talk recession proof, you can go straight up and work with people that we just had on Real Estate First Technology who focuses on divorce or probate or relocation or downsizing, right? So you got to really self-reflect, right? If you don't have standard operating procedures and KPIs and you think you work with everyone and you want to drive all over the place, and if you're like somewhere like the Bay Area, San Francisco, California, and you want to have to sit in traffic for 2 hours, like more power to you. But if you want to drive less, you want to have more time and freedom and balance in your life, then you want to think about systems, processes, getting more focus on that avatar, and let the videos, the social media, the guides, the website, all the things that you're putting out there drive in traffic from people searching specific terms, finding you. And then after they find you, if they like you, they'll watch more of your content. And then they'll subscribe and they'll like if it's, say, YouTube. And then you'll have a raving fan. And if you have a fan, that fan will work with you deliberately no matter what. And that's just what it is. And like that's what we preach about passive prospecting and say getting into YouTube is like, let's be more deliberate and focused, right? And I think a lot of agents think to themselves like, I don't want to limit myself because I want to work with everyone everywhere, because I don't want to potentially lose out on opportunities, which is also a lack mindset, right? And you're in lack, you're not in abundance. And dude, the best thing an agent can do out there, believe it or not, is say no, and I'm sorry, but I can't help you, but here's who can. Because guess what? The more that you give, the more you'll get. And the more that you're focused, the more you'll attract the exact same thing that you're focusing on. Can I answer your question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love
Okay.
what you
All right.
said there because, like you said, the best thing an agent can say sometimes is, no, I can't help you, but I know somebody who can, right? Because
Yes.
every time you say yes to somebody, or every time you say yes to something, you're actually saying no to something else. And that something else could be your ideal client. It could be that $4 million listing that you were looking for, right? Or it could be
Yes.
time with your family, or it could be just your mental health, whatever it is,
Yes.
right? So I think it's very important for agents to have a mindset of abundance and not lack, because there are people out there that you want to work with and that also want to work with you. And like you said, right, it's just all about being deliberate with who you are, looking at yourself in the mirror, right? Do you want to work with yourself, right? Is if you were your ideal client, would you even think about working with yourself? And really just targeting those people instead of, really, I think a lot of agents, they base their business off, like you said, like the market, off luck, right?
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
or if people need to move, then they have a good month. If people don't need to move, then they need to put their license in an active status or whatever it is, right? So
Yeah.
that's not the right way to run a business. And I think that's what you guys are teaching as well, is how to start that foundation, which is, who do you want to serve? How do you want to serve them? And then you start thinking about what are the systems and processes you need to put in place. So that way you are not working, 40 hours a day, or it's not even possible, but
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like that way, right? So
Right.
I think it's very
It's only
important
24.
for to build that foundation.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Very, very well articulated. I gotta say, you're a great host.
No. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about, what systems and processes an agent should be focusing on, right? Because I think a lot of times, they maybe, they've got their avatar down, they know what they need to be doing, but they don't know how to do it, right? They don't know what they should be setting up. They don't
Yeah.
know what systems to put in place. So, if you were talking to an agent today, what would you say to them as far as like, what are some of the most important systems that can really help them save the most amount of time and help them be the most efficient in their day-to-day activities?
Yeah, most definitely. I think the biggest thing to start with is like if you're offline and you're going to events, right? Networking events, B&I events, open house events, brokers tour, hiking, whatever it is, right? You got to think to yourself, okay, if I go to an event and I meet someone, what is it that I want to have happen? Okay. Because business cards, do I want a stack of business cards on my desk? I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't. Okay. How many people's names can I remember and phone numbers can I remember? And yeah, I can put them in my phone number, a phone number on my phone. That's totally fine. I can do that. But then what's going to happen when I have another 1,000 other people on my phone? Is it going to get lost? So I would really recommend to say, first start with evaluating what you're doing offline. Okay. And also evaluate what you're doing online. So look at your website, look at your social media, look what you currently have going on, right? And so that way, when you do meet someone offline and you have, for me, a bow tie on, I'm dressed to the nines, right? I want to make sure that I'm showing up on this podcast, but I also want to make sure that I'm showing up offline or online. So when I'm online, I look at this as offline, even though we're not, we're online right now, but we're doing this right now and we'll pretend this is offline. And then now whoever's listening or viewing is going to be like, okay, who's this guy? He said this one thing, the energy, the delivery, whatever it is that I sparked, right? Because with emotion, then things come into motion, right? You need emotion to have motion. So then with that, they're going to check me out online. Well, I want to make sure that I show up good, and I want to make sure that things look polished, they look good, and it's very much deliberate, and it's very much conducive, and it works conducively with what I'm doing offline. So that's the first thing. Now from there, when it comes to systems, I love, love, love a couple things, super simple, easy stuff. Calendly.com. I love Calendly.com. I have 6 different meeting types. And whether it's scheduling a podcast, a 10-minute phone conversation, a strategy session, it doesn't matter. I have that done, right? I love Calendly too, because if you meet someone like say offline and you want to really see how much they care to want to meet you, send them a calendar link. Guess what they have to do? They have to put in their first name, their last name, their email, and all their information. And then in Calendly.com, there's automation processes, right? So within Calendly.com, they'll text, they'll email, they'll notify, and you could set up the roadmap of how often you want to text, notify, and all the things, right? And the next thing is, this is going to go right into what I talked about as far as saying no in the last segment of conversation we just had. Use your calendar and book on your calendar your lunch. Book on your calendar like a content filming day. Book on your calendar specific things that you need to do, like take your dry cleaning in, go to the gym, right? Go spend some time with your family, like personal and professional, block it all off. And then when you have someone that wants to go, say you already an agent that's doing really well, and you're going to be basically wanting to show a buyer some homes, and they want to see what's available. Okay. If anyone who's listening and viewing right now literally goes through and says, okay, I'm available Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 2, 5, and 6. What works for you? You're tripping. Okay. Get Calendly. You send them a link, right? Then guess what happens is they get to see when you're available and when you're not available. If they see that you're not available more than you are available, boom, automatically you turn into more of an authority, and your level of professionalism and level of, what's the word I'm looking for? The level of them wanting you goes up more, because they see that they can have you only so much. They're going to want you more. So that's really going to level you up. So I want to talk to people right now that are not doing passive prospecting. And I don't want to go too deep into that stuff, like passive prospecting and social media and what to post and how to post and all the things. I just want to say, hey, for what you're already currently doing, just do some self-evaluation, online activities and offline activities. Make sure they marry up nicely. Get Calendly.com going and a Google Calendar. Doesn't matter if it's your CRM system has a calendar. Doesn't matter if it's whatever, Yahoo, Microsoft. Just use your calendar, right? And use Calendly.com. Those are going to help you from the beginning. Keeps it super simple. And then as you get those foundations started, then you can move on to the next things, which would be getting more into like, how do you market to an ideal avatar, and specifically like put out content to attract that person and passively prospect. Gets a little more in depth, but I can go there. But did I answer your question, Kobe? Want to make sure.
No, absolutely did, because I think it's a lot of agents, they will kind of stake their brand or stake themselves as far as, being the agent that's always available, right? I'm always
Yes.
available. You can reach me at any point during the day. And I think there is
Yes.
merit to that, but if you really want to scale up, right? And like you said, if you really want to seem even more desirable to work with for your clients, uh it's actually better for you not to be available 24/7. It's actually
Yeah.
better for you to have certain times during the day or during the week where, hey, I can work with you this time of day at this, on these days, and this is the only time that I can work, right? Because in the
Yeah.
other times, I'm doing things that are helping my business grow. I'm serving other clients, or
Yep.
I am adding more systems to my business so that way I can serve you even better, or even more efficiently, right? And that, I think, for people that look
100%.
from the outside looking in, makes you more professional. It makes you, like you said, more desirable to work with, and it puts
Mm-hmm.
you in a much better position of authority for a
Mm-hmm.
client to kind of see you as, oh wow, this person is they're not taking, they're not taking this lightly, right? They're taking their business very seriously,
Very seriously.
and I know what to expect. And it gives them a a sense of I know what to expect from you, so that way I'm not going to be caught off guard or surprised or something's not
Yeah.
going to go wrong. So
Hey, I'm just gonna say it, okay? Kobe is being nice right now. Stop saying you're fucking always available. Okay. I did it. I said it. Stop saying you're always available. If there's something you take from this podcast, block off your calendar, do the things that you want to do. So that way you have time for self and you can do what you need to do for you. And don't think that if that time's not available, that you're going to lose a client. It's not going to come, whatever the case may be. I like to challenge people, right? No challenge, no change. So, I know we don't want to rustle any feathers, right? We don't want to get any bad reviews here on the podcast. So you can give me a bad review. Okay. Not Kobe, but yeah, I love
no,
that.
but
Sorry.
but I think people need to hear that sometimes, right? Because it's not, you never get to that next step, right? There's a lot of people,
Yes.
a lot of agents who have goals and intentions. They want to do this and that and this and that. And just like one example of that, it's like a lot of agents at where I'm at EXP, they want to focus, they want to take advantage of the revenue share model. They want to attract agents, but
Yes.
they're always going to be available for their clients and they're never blocking off time to attract agents. They're never going to be able to build up that side, that income stream, right? Or that side
Yeah.
of the business. So you have to do that if you want to get to that next level. You're not, it's a sacrifice that you have to make because you're sacrificing what you have right now that you don't necessarily want to get to a place that, you really want to be at and you really want to be intentional about. So yeah, I think people need to hear that. If that
Amen.
gets us a bad review or negative comment, then so be it,
What is it?
right?
Bad publicity is good publicity, right? Let's go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, people need to hear that. And
Amen.
but Norman, man, I really appreciate you being here, and I think you shared a lot of value with us here today. Just in telling your story, telling us a little bit about how you got started in real estate, and the kind of the whole journey you've been on, and sharing a lot of things that agents need to hear. Maybe don't
Mhm.
want to hear it, but they need to hear if they want to
Yeah.
get to that next level. So for people out there that are watching this or listening to this that want to work with you, that want to follow you on social media, that want to check out the podcast you're hosting and you're putting out there, what are some of the best ways that people can reach you and actually see that you're doing the things that you're telling people to do as well?
Amen, man. I love that. First off, thanks so much for the opportunity. This has been phenomenal. I always like to show up the way I wish someone would show up for me. I hope I brought the energy and all the things just to let's go. Get people fired up, right? Life's short. And I think at the end of the day, like there's lots of free value, of course, Liftoff Agent, real estate versus technology, podcast, all the things. I think the biggest thing, it starts off with like self and like and who I am personally. And like not everyone's going to love me. Some people are going to love me. Some people are going to be like, I don't like this guy, whatever. So, if you want to learn more and you like who I am and I gave you some, either a thought, some motivation, I fired you up, just look up at Mr. Liftoff on Instagram. I mean, literally that has in my bio the link to Liftoff Agent. It has a link to the podcast. And as soon as you go down the rabbit hole, you'll see there's lots of free stuff that we add and value that we give. And literally, if you want to see what I'm doing day to day, like everything behind the scenes, like that's on my personal stories, because I think it's very pertinent to bring people into your life. So people could be like, whoa, like if this person can do it, then I could do it too. And that's what I'm all about. Just showing up for people the way I wish someone would show up for me, and showing people that, like, dude, it's not that serious. Get out of your head and you can do it. I believe in you. Just start believing in yourself. So that's just what I want to leave with, man. And thank you so much for this opportunity. This is impeccable.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Guys, make sure to give Mr. Liftoff a follow on Instagram. Go check out the podcast, Real Estate versus Technology. Go to liftoffagent.com if you want to work with him directly. And other than that, Norm, man, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you tuning in. There you go. There you go. Give that a follow. Appreciate you tuning in, and thank you. And we'll see you on the next show. Take care.